Welcome to Mentor. I'm Rachel Ford.
And I'm Marco Bertozzi.
And we are the founders of TheZoo.London for exec search and consulting.
And our podcast is all about the hard-earned wisdom from world-class leaders, from those who have been there and most definitely done it.
And the insights that you won't find in a business book, but you can use them in everyday life. Boy, can you use the insights coming out of today's episode. We have got Stephen Miron, chairman of Global, just recent chairman, after 16 years of CEO of Global. And his stories are amazing. I mean, he's just probably one of the most well-respected and liked people in our industry, not just from business point of view, but also his little black book and the amount of celebs that he knows. We didn't ask,
so many guests who have said he was a great mentor to them.
Well, this is it. So we knew we had to get him on, and he doesn't disappoint. And his insights around, what is it about preparation?
Yeah, I mean, preparation stood out for me. I think there was a few things all tied up around preparation, around knowing your trade, around understanding more than just your job in whatever company you're in. I think, you know, he talked about some really interesting things there.
Yeah. And also for me, even from his first job at the TV Times, just his be curious, like his just interest in other people's jobs and asking the questions from very, very early on in his career. That whole curiousness then translating into actually just being interested in people and people, how they are. So it really comes through, doesn't it? That human connection and really, especially if you're in sales, get out there and speak to your customers.
Yeah. It is no coincidence that those are his ways of approaching his work and how well he's done.
Yeah. And he's just a brilliant, lovely really guy. Nice. Well, before that,
let's have a word about our sponsors, shall we? And then we'll get him in. And so Viral Tribe, really, I mean, our journey has been one where we came into creating a podcast where we didn't have a clue, did we? Let's be honest.
We did not.
And Viral Tribe have been...
should we call them mentors?
Let's call them mentors.
Let's call them. They've been mentors. They've really shown us a way. They've been really supportive. They've helped us with creative ideas, obviously the production and promotion, and they've held our hand.
And we're part of a stable of some of the biggest creators in the industry.
Yeah, so I think chart-topping shows and branded content.
We'll soon be there, right?
That's where mentor. We're somewhere there. And today we're in Broadwick Street. There's also another state-of-the-art studio on Wardour Street, and really, from start to finish, they just make the whole process really, I suppose, smooth and stress-free, I'd say. Yeah, and I think what do they say, the presidents? They say, we endorse this message. We 100% endorse Viral Tribe. So if you're thinking about creating a podcast and using the facilities, or indeed you're a client looking to work with them on branded content, then drop them a line at hello@viraltribe.co.uk, and you're going to get 20% off the first 3 months if you use the word mentor. I think first 3 bookings, but let's see first 3 months. But anyway, that sounds like an incredible deal. So thank you, Viral Tribe. So come on in, Stephen. Come on in. So today we welcome Stephen Miron, one of the most respected and well-liked figures in British media, a leader whose career has spanned newspapers, radio and digital, and whose influence can be felt across how millions of us consume media every day. He began his journey in the world of print, rising through the ranks of Associated Newspapers. I think that's where you knew John O'Donnell from. And the Mail, probably there, before making the bold leap to join Global in 2008, just as the radio industry was facing huge disruption. Many thought audio's best days were behind it, but Stephen saw the opportunity to reinvent it, and reinvent it you did, didn't you? Over the next 16 years as CEO, he helped transform Global from 200 million radio group into £1 billion multi-platform powerhouse, home to iconic brands like Capital, Heart, LBC and Classic FM, as well as pioneering digital advertising platform DAX and one of the largest outdoor media networks in Europe. Stephen's leadership has been defined by bold, forward-thinking decisions. I think we'll hear about some of those today. From the landmark acquisition of GMG Radio to the expansion into outdoor media, but also by a deep sense of humanity. He's known for leading with empathy, building trust across creative and commercial worlds, and a genuine curiosity about people and ideas. Now, stepping into the role of chairman, Stephen is closing one chapter and beginning another, reflecting on what it takes to lead with change and the art of knowing when to exit stage left, I think is what you've said, and how to keep evolving in an industry that never stands still. I think that's one hell of a intro, and we're just, we're delighted to have you here,
And for
Stephen.
all the audio aficionados out there, it's DAX.
Well, I say DAX. Well, I used to say DAX. I like to,
Well, I used to say...
Can we just
McDougal's.
Can we not
McDougal's.
Disagree so early on into the Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you.
Welcome, Stephen. Thank you for coming. We it's been funny. I don't think there's been anyone else that has come up as many times as you have come up in all the podcasts that we've done, where people have referenced other people. So obviously we were like, okay.
In a positive way,
in a
Mark.
Always in a positive way.
As a mentor.
As a great mentor. And so obviously we were inspired to get you on the show. And I'd love to, I'm excited to hear your view of all of that, because people have just thrown your name around all over the place. So it's great to have you with us.
Thank you.
We're going to start, for those few people out there that don't know all of your background, Rachel's done a bit of an intro there, but to hear it firsthand, we always ask people to do career in 60 seconds. It never is.
Yeah.
But
I can do it in 60 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. Come on. With
no radio,
exactly.
No pressure. But just to hear a bit more about your whole story.
Okay. Well, thanks both very much for having me. What an amazing podcast you guys are doing.
Thank you.
I mean, you've just built something from zero up to something that people really get a huge amount from. And the topic that you talk about, mentoring, has been something really close to my heart. So it's a privilege to be here. So thank you for having me. So the 60-second version, there are a couple of bits. I actually started in magazines. So at 19, I started at TV Times. 21, I went to the Mail as a sales executive. Spent 10 years at the Mail on Sunday. Then got asked to go to the Independent, which was the weirdest move at the time. I went there as commercial director. It was actually the transformational move. So I spent 3 years at the Indie. The Mail then asked me to come back as managing director of New Ventures. So that was sort of digital division and a few other bits and pieces. Within that period, I then got made MD of the Mail on Sunday, MD of Mail Online. Spent a lovely 7 years there, was going to spend a lot longer there. And then this crazy opportunity came up to go to Global in 2008. So I joined Global as CEO, then have just stepped down in March 2025 and are now chairing the business. So that is my world.
Well, you've done that. You have done that very efficiently.
That was very efficient.
And how did you get your first gig?
Oh my God! Well, I was sort of the first job out of school, because I wasn't bright enough to go to university. The first job out of school was actually in management training at Safeways. I was very badly behaved there. Did my utmost to probably get fired, and sort of partly succeeded. I actually resigned, but I came close to being fired. I wrote to every media company on the planet, just trying to look for a job. I knew about media because my father had been in commercial television. Right. And as much as he discouraged me from going anywhere near the media industry, there was obviously a draw and an attraction. And I remember that there was an old, Marco, Rachel, you're far too young. Marco may know this, but there was a sort of Bible called Brad at the time, which used to list all the rate cards. It was a huge book, and I literally read it from cover to cover. And sort of worked out, I wrote to every company that I could think of in Brad that I'd sort of heard of, and got into TV Times.
It still does. It has all the contact. Was that the thing?
It had
all the
contact
names,
and it had rate cards. Yes, it had
titles.
exactly. It just gave you an idea of who was there.
The Bible.
And so when I went for an interview at TV Times, and they said, "What do you know about the TV Times?" I literally was able to tell them rate cards. I could tell them circulations. And I was, I was 18, 19 years of age. So I think they were quite impressed by that. And it was an amazing place to start because I realised being a
and also it was a big time. I mean, obviously things have changed.
There was those days. It was TV Times and Radio Times, and we sold millions of copies. Yeah. And it was the first place where I didn't realise a thing called a mentor existed. But there was a guy called Mike Keenan, sadly no longer with us now, who just took me under his wing. So I was literally there cutting out ads from newspapers and sort of working out which agencies they came from and then sort of dropping them on people's desks and stuff like that. And this guy, at the end of the day, he would say, right, let me tell you how it works. Right, here's a 20 double in a newspaper. This is what it means. This is why it would go there. And he was really
so he went
tough.
Above and beyond.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable.
He must have seen something in you, though. I mean, look, there's the tenacity just to write to all of those. I mean, before you even got to that stage, you obviously tirelessly went through that. You applied for this. You obviously had a real drive in you that he could see that.
Well, do you know what? I think it's the things. It's always, as I tell people when I'm speaking to people about when they're looking at their careers and everything. It's always the small incremental things. It's never normally the big gestures. Yeah. It's the detail. And it's generally the small bits of detail that define things rather than the sort of big statement pieces. So I always think throughout, I look back on my career, it's always been the small little things that made a difference. When I was at the Mail on Sunday, when I became MD, the first thing I did was wrote handwritten cards to sort of 500 chairman and CEO. Basically saying, look, I've just taken over. Here's my home number. And if you want to get hold of me, this is the number. And I had calls from amazing people who just wanted to test out whether it was really my home number. And I said, because I'm an MD of a Sunday newspaper, you won't get hold of me in the office. Yeah. And, that one gesture, which I nicked from, I read a book by Jack Welch, who used to run General Electric. And I saw that and I thought, that's a great idea. Yeah. So handwritten notes to someone. Yeah. And I remember Matt Britton telling me that it was one of the first things that he did when he went to Google. He said, because I told him that. He said, what was the best thing you did, Stephen? Yeah. I said, I wrote to 500 people, handwritten note, gave them my home number. Yeah. And it was unbelievable the effect that had.
Well, we just had Bruce.
Yeah, we did.
Recently, Bruce Daisley, who talks a lot about
the workplace.
The workplace but earlier than that, sort of how to stand out, and it started with how to get a job. So and a lot of his techniques revolve around, writing to people, doing the physical, using the postal system as we boiled it down to, as a way of standing out.
Yeah, it's amazing. He said, yeah, I can get you onto any desk. But again, the tenacity, I think he said about 3 letters. When he, and that cut through, and I think, and so those little moments, I suppose, when you look back at such an amazing career and that's still continuing, was there a pivotal moment that really did shape you, or do you think it is more in those little things that you did?
The big move was actually going to the Independent, because the Mail on Sunday was fantastic. We were having a great time. I'd been involved with the sort of scoping of what Metro newspaper could be. I was asked whether I wanted to sort of be the ad director on that. So my path was always quite good. And then I had this sort of curveball intro. A guy called Tony O'Reilly had just bought the Independent. Simon Kellner, who I'd worked with at the Mail on Sunday, he was editor of Night and Day, had gone in to be editor of the Independent. And through those relationships, Simon, I think, had obviously helped sort of recommend that I should go as commercial director. And it was a really mad move in many ways, because the Independent was bottom of the pile. Yeah. It was really struggling. It just come out of the sort of, the Mirror had owned it. Yeah. But I was given a massive job, way probably beyond my competence at the time.
Wow,
and
that sounds a bit underestimated.
No, genuinely. I was sort of doing marketing. I'd never done marketing. I knew nothing about marketing. Yeah. But the great thing about it, when I reflect now, apart from the CEO was, I'd say, borderline bipolar. So I learned a lot from watching those behaviours of just, okay, this is a different experience. Yeah. So but what I realized was that you could take on many things, that even though your own natural skill set probably goes, well, you don't have all the competences to do it. Ask the right questions, find great people, and then make it happen. And the thing at the indie, we were in such deep crap at the time that we had to do brave things.
Yeah.
And whereas at the Mail, where you were sort of in a very big, strong, comfortable organization that was still doing very, very well at the time, the indie, we had to do things that others wouldn't do, whether that was the structure of how we went about sales, whether it was how we approached marketing, whether it was just what we did in innovation. So I probably learnt so much in that period that when I went back to the Mail 3 years later, I was far better equipped than I would have been if I'd just stayed in that organisation.
Did it feel a lot slower when you went back to the Mail?
Yeah, a lot slower. And I've said this in a number of places. When I came, I mean, I love the Mail with every fibre of my body. And I thought that's where I would spend the rest of my career. And it was sort of, I think, quite well mapped out. What you realise when I came to Global, and then when I was asked, what's the difference? The amount of time we spent internally on the politics at the Mail, I mean, it was brutal. I mean, it was great for survival. If you weren't resilient, you would not have got through it. But in many ways, a lot of the issues that it subsequently faced were really because it was so internally focused. It didn't focus enough on the customer or the product. It focused so much, and the organisation was always set up to be in competition. Everyone was in competition with everyone. So we were all placed against each other. So board meetings were always quite exciting because it was a proper punch-up.
What's going to happen today?
It really was. Yeah. And a lot of, some of the people who you've had on your podcast have been in the rooms. But it was fierce. And if you didn't know how to handle that, you were in deep trouble. And that's where it came back to being, as I sort of worked out, people would want to throw spears at you, particularly if you were doing well. There would always be a moment where someone... So I spent as much time understanding everyone else's business around the table in the boardroom as I did on my own.
Yeah.
I knew their numbers better than they knew mine.
And did you prepare outside the boardroom as much as you did?
Massively.
I'm going to say, before you go into those situations, you've already counselled, haven't you?
But again, you realise how little other people did.
Yeah.
And again, it's that small bit of detail that I think you see in so many different facets. When I have someone in and they come to mentoring, and I'll know more about them. I'll have looked at everything about their world, their career. I'll look at videos. I'll see how they present, and I know they know 5-10% about me. That I've done a quick search, and I take the time to do that, and I've always taken the time to do that, and it never ceases to surprise me how little work people do in preparing for things.
Well, it's so easy to run around, isn't it? And you sort of dive into meetings and you think, well, I've made it to the board, so now I can just walk in and be part of it. But actually, as you say, well, it's no coincidence that you behave like that and you progress in your careers. I mean, these things are all
But I think
related.
people, a lot of the questions people ask to get more senior is all about stakeholder management.
Yeah.
Sort of when you get to that level of, right, how do I then either stay in my job or get it even further up the tree?
Yeah.
The naivety and the emotional intelligence and lack of that people have often differentiates those that really do well and those that just sort of either stay static or then fall off.
And do you think you've just always been very curious as well, though? You were very much, I think you want to understand people, and you're a brilliant person, and you're a great leader. Is it you're just really interested?
I love people.
Yeah.
I've always loved people. So I'd say the number one thing that, I don't know where it was ingrained from early on, but networking, meeting people. So I always thought that, I can get to most people. I had no fear of people.
Yeah.
And I think, again, a lot of people, particularly on the sales side, when people, on the agency side, you sat there, and certainly back in the day when I used to go in and into
People
Saatchi's,
come to you. People
like,
come to you.
Go on then. Sell me your wares.
Yeah.
And that's why it's always hard for agencies people to make the transition to sales side. Back in the day, I think as sales guys, you used to go in and you literally you had to just be confident enough to not be afraid of people. And there were some very strong characters back in the day, particularly back in Saatchi's days. There were some fierce individuals who wanted to see you squirm.
Yeah.
And that having no fear of anyone, right? And just being who you are, treating everyone with respect, doesn't matter who they are or what they are, but also not being afraid of really grown up. So I remember when I had my interview for the Mail on Sunday, Guy Zitter, who was then the ad manager, when I went for the interview, and I was at TV Times, and he said, well, who do you know? And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, I was one of the agencies that I looked after was Gold Greenest Trot. He said, well, who do you know there? I said, well, Mike Gold, Mike Greenest, Dave Trot. He said, don't be stupid. And I was like, I just found it really weird that he'd even say that.
Yeah.
I said, right. So picks up the phone. Phone's Goldie. I'm sitting with a bloke. It's maybe a very quick call. And obviously says, right, he's from the TV Times. Oh, that'd be Stephen Miron. Oh, you know him then. Yeah. So anyway, then puts the phone down. All right. So you say you look after Saatchi's. Yeah. Who do you know there? And at the time, the chairman of Saatchi's was Roy Warman. There was Roy Warman, Terry Bannister, and then John Perris. I said, well, Roy, Terry, or John? You don't know those. Oh. No, I do. So he picks up the phone to Roy Warman, who was the head of Saatchi's at the time. It's Guy Zitter here from the Mail. I just want to ask a quick question. Do you happen to know? Oh yeah, give him my best.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Oh my God.
I was literally, I was a sales assistant. I was no one.
Yeah.
But I always found time to find a way to just say hello to people or introduce myself.
But also, it just reminded me when we spoke to Annette King, she was saying, from a client perspective, she's like, try and go up.
Yeah.
Try and speak to the CMO, try and speak to the CEO, of your clients rather than hang around sort of.
Yeah.
It's not just being interested in people, it's also like pushing yourself to go and speak to those senior people.
And we all have this sort of inbuilt fear of people in authority. Like, oh my God, they're a grown up. And actually, as you realise,
they're human.
They're human. They're all
human.
the same people.
Yeah.
We go home, we do the same thing. They probably have the same issues.
Yeah.
So just don't be worried about these things.
And also anybody, if anybody sees your 60th, your 50th birthday that you had recently, you can tell your people that people love you. Like even when you've just recently had a paddle, the gushing of kind of well wishes and oh God, like you're really loved. You're such a loved person, Stephen.
So, which is a good point because I think that. How do you manage that balance? Because you obviously to do that you need a bit of empathy and you need to be authentic to yourself. And how do you then balance sort of however you want to talk about it, tough leadership, the tough decisions, the cracking the whip, holding the high standards, and those sort of relationships and.
Well, as we bumped into John O'Donnell on the way up, and you've heard from a few people who've done the podcast before. I think they're probably better equipped to talk about my leadership than I am. I've always worked on the premise that look, integrity is everything. Yeah. So and treat people as you wish to be treated. I've always said to anyone who's worked for me, never ever ever have a fear of asking me any question you want to ask, as long as you're prepared for the answer. So, if you want to know how your career is going, fine, but it may not be how, as long as you're happy to have the response, which is, look, I'm not sure it's going to be the long term here or whatever it may be. So I've always felt really comfortable. I mean, one of the always standing jokes has been, I've always quite enjoyed confrontation. I've never been a fearful because I don't get emotional. I don't never lose my crap. I don't have any issue with it, having very difficult conversations on any front.
Can I just say, I feel like the most toxic people in work are conflict avoiders.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
you're absolutely right.
So much,
it does.
It creates so much swirl just to avoid the difficult conversations.
Yeah. So I would like to think that authenticity of, I know if someone sits with me and says, can we have a chat?
Yeah.
They will know from me 100%.
You'll talk it straight. You'll say it straight, won't you?
It is.
Yeah.
And when it's good, you tell it it's great. And when it's not good, you've also got to be happy to say it's not good enough, guys. And we need to raise our game and explain why. And be prepared to be in there with them doing it as well. I think, again, it's one of those things that no one really tells you how to do it. when you're leading people and teams and companies and organizations, you sort of look around and you try and get inspiration from all sorts of things. But you end up your own personal brand or whatever it is that you may judge yourself by. I always think you have to keep looking yourself in the mirror going, okay, am I doing what I feel is the right thing to do? Yeah. Am I proud of what I'm doing?
Yeah. And open to feedback yourself as well.
Absolutely, 100%. And allowing people to say, you know what, I don't think you handle that right.
Yeah.
And them not being fearful of giving you that feedback.
Yeah.
Because, again, you don't get it all right. There are lots of things you get wrong. And you need people around you who are comfortable enough to say it without thinking, well, if I tell him that, I'm going to get fired.
Yeah. Well, it's that psychological, we've talked about it before, psychological safety, that actually if you can create a culture of feedback and unfeelfulness. And also you're making me think about, because you're good about, you will give feedback. You give me feedback, don't you, Marco? But I'm thinking about it's a bit like, actually, like you say, the most toxic people are the ones that just let it fester. And not suggesting that people should be like Gordon Ramsay, but the thing about Gordon Ramsay is like he will shout and he will say, look, this is not good enough. Because he's trying to get you to the best place. And then the minute then he actually gives some praise, people are like, oh, right. So it's also that part that if you get praise, that's so thanks, Marco. When Marco gives you praise, I know that's proper praise. And then, but it
I'm
is
still
that,
waiting.
It's sorry. Well, you just I do sometimes give you some praise, Marco. But it is that thing, isn't it? That just say it straight because we're all going to grow together, and also you can give it to me back. And I think I think it does come down to trust.
Yeah.
And like you say, it's trying to create that.
I think the humility. I remember there were people I've worked with before who I used to look at and for instance, they would always leave their coat on the back of their chair to pretend they were still in the office and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And embarrassed to say, oh, I'm on holiday for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3, whatever it may be, or I'm playing golf today, or I'm not. They'd always pretend.
Yeah.
And you think, why are you doing that? What is it you think happens? Because everyone knows.
Yeah.
And one boss I had was very much in that category that always pretended that he was on it 24, and he wasn't.
Yeah.
And you look at that and go, that's just stupid.
Yeah.
So, I've always feel really comfortable about what I got up to the weekend, what I did, what I didn't do, or where
you've got to get the job done, basically.
You have to, but it's building that relationship with the people you work with and the teams you work with, where it's very open.
Well, it's okay to have downtime because you need downtime to be able to focus on the actual business. And I've got to say, and we wrote your little black book, Stephen, is like off the scale. But as I say, there's just outpouring of love for you. How have you built this across your? Is it literally just being yourself? I think people would say that you'd go out of the way for them. I'm just thinking about Make Some Noise, your the last one, and how many people can get Ed Sheeran to come and
well,
it's
we've got an amazing team at Global who wanted to do something special for my last one.
But he said, I'm doing this for you, Stephen. And I do think so many would say, I'm doing this for you. So you think about, oh my God, like Summertime Ball and the acts that you've had on that, and they'll all know you. They'll all know Stephen Miron.
Well, we make an effort to get to know everyone.
Yeah.
And again, it's just it's the basic things of it doesn't matter whether you're Taylor Swift, whether you're Ed, they're interesting people. And they don't want the stalkers, and they don't want, oh my God.
This is it. They want to feel normal. They want to feel natural.
And they want to have a proper conversation. Yeah. And actually, in both Taylor's and Ed case, you've got two of the most incredible business people who happen to be world-class musicians, but they're interesting people because what they do is incredible with how they manage their business. So I think it's that back to that bit of don't be afraid of these people or these things. I think the question you ask about why, I mean, I've always enjoyed, the element of helping people if I can help people. Some of the people, I remember, like Nick Lawson went to me, the media business because I told Sue Unerman to hire him. I knew him at Acme. He was sort of dawdling around there. Sue then says to me, "Oh, do you know anybody who could help me with new business?" I thought, "It's a bloke, you should get him in." And so I don't know how it happened, but I was always sort of the conduit to quite a few things that happened in this industry. People would come to me and say, "Do you know anybody?" Or could you recommend, and whether it's just because they thought I knew lots of people or I have lots of relationships.
Probably goes back to the fact that you are, making an effort to connect with people, and that probably becomes the thread.
I've got a brilliant idea. You've got a bit of time on your hands. Would you like to come and join the Zoo.London executive search?
You seem to be doing really well. I saw you just play so really good.
You can come and join us, Stephen. We'd be more than happy to have you.
I think, unfortunately, all the guys I know are probably not in the sweet spot for you. But I think it's just you've got to be your authentic self. You've got to build a relationship, and also as you realise. You need lots of people, particularly if you're doing bigger and bigger jobs.
Yeah.
You need people who may be working at your biggest, competitor, but you need to be able to pick up the phone and go, we need to have a chat.
Yeah.
And then when they do make that call, they will take the call, want to have that conversation, and then they'll trust you sufficiently to go, look, I know we can put that down over there. That's fine. But this is a big industry issue, or this is something that collectively
we need to collaborate on.
We need to do.
Yeah.
And I think you can't do that if you're coming from a position of, mistrust or reputation. You've just got a crap reputation. I mean, this industry, particularly, probably more than most, so much of it is about reputation. Yeah. And all the news this week with everything in the BBC, everything's always about personal reputation.
Yeah.
So, one of the things for me has always been never put yourself in a position where your personal reputation can be damaged. Yeah. Because it's the only thing you have. It's the only thing any of us have.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a cliche, but it is a small industry in that sense.
It is.
I wanted to, just a quick step back. I meant to ask it at the time, but just thinking about, you mentioned going into the independent, that was a big job for you. And believe it or not, we spoke to Steve King, and he admitted to imposter syndrome. Which I don't know if we believe him, but he did. But what were your coping mechanisms at the time, and maybe advice for, because hopefully there are people that are on the way up that are listening to this podcast. In that scenario, what's your advice for how to manage that?
Take great counsel. Go and speak to as many people as possible. And ask advice. So, I mean, when I came to Global, that's probably a better example. When I came to Global, there was a lot more sort of financial rigor and structural things that I hadn't been involved with at the Mail. So I went and took advice from amazing people in the world of finance to help me understand how various financial structures worked and what that meant. So when I then ended up sitting in a room full of bankers, whilst I'm not a qualified financial director, nor ever should be, that I was competent enough to ask the right questions, and I could sort of work out, okay, if they say that's good news, that's bad news,
that's what that means.
We should go that way. Yes. And so at the Indie, when it came to marketing, for instance, and Lowhouse Spink, I think, were the agency at the time, just sitting down with them and going, right, looking them in the eye and going, we need your help. If you were sitting where I'm sitting, tell me what you would do, tell me what you wouldn't do. And what are the cautionary tales? And just having enough people in the industry where I could go to and say, right, what do you think?
It's preparation again, isn't it?
All about preparation. It really is. It's all about, it does come a lot to that. So I don't think everyone should be taking on jobs that they feel uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
Then that next step should always feel a bit, oh my God, because if it isn't, it's probably not the right job. Was it imposter syndrome? I think financially I did feel that a bit, because it was, I remember going to my then MD at the Mail on Sunday when I got the job offer at the Indie, and I said, oh God, I love the Mail. And I showed him the contract, and he said, well, Stephen, you should take that job. I said, really? I'm not sure. He said, well, you're on more money than I'll be. I remember.
Oh my God.
And you shouldn't be swayed by those things, but at 31 or whatever,
of course you are.
You see, you are, because it was quite financially transformative. But then I'm thinking, there's a reason they're doing that. It has high risk.
Yeah.
It had a real high risk associated with it. And then you're sort of backing yourself to, if it all goes horribly wrong, what's my plan B? So there are certain things that happen that throw you off kilter a bit and make you question yourself, like, am I worth it?
Yeah.
Or can I do that job? Or, oh my God, I've never looked after that before. And all those facets, I think you end up
You have to remind yourself
Talk to
that they
people.
chose you as well. I always sort of say that to people.
And they want you to succeed.
Yeah.
They do, but also they have no fear of if it's not working, rightly
Yeah,
so,
you're
you
off.
shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think that's fine. I've always felt very comfortable with that.
Yeah. And I could hear that as well about the preparation. I suppose when you mentor people, is that the advice you would give them? Always be on top of your numbers. Know more than the other person that you sat opposite the room. Is that what you always look for when you were building teams?
Definitely to understand more, understand how everything works.
Yeah.
So whilst you sit in a box marked, I'm a digital marketing, but understand how a whole business works. Go and spend time. When I look back at TV Times, I was 19 years of age. I was a sales assistant, just there to do whatever. I would wander around. I remember there was a guy, Paul Taylor, who was the head of production. I mean, I didn't even know what production did. So what do you do? Oh, well, I put the magazine together. Well, how does that work? Well, we have to schedule the ads. Well, what does that mean? Well, we have to order the paper. Well, how much does paper cost?
Yeah.
And I must have been the most annoying.
This is it. You're curious. You're such a.
Think. I mean, I look back at myself and go, "Oh my god!"
People do love being asked questions.
Yeah.
Well, I think
you're interested.
I genuinely was interested.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, and so knowing how the constituent parts works makes a big difference. So to the people that I've ended up mentoring, whether they're from the Global Academy looking at their first jobs, through to CMOs looking to be CEOs, through the amazing work that Sherilyn Shackle does at the Marketing Academy and the Marketing Fellowship, everyone's it's the same stuff. It just may be they're at that stage on the line and the others are at that stage on the line. And then at that stage on the line, generally, it's about really understanding what your skill set is. And a lot of people don't really understand what their skill set is because no one's really been honest enough with them to go, you should, you shouldn't, you will, you won't. And everyone has this sort of aspiration that I've only succeeded if I've then become the CEO, which is crap. Not everyone is meant to be a CEO of an organization. And having that hard conversation with some people, is tough. But I've always taken the view, well, you should hear it from me because I'm not going to pretend to you. Otherwise.
Which is that honest feedback, though, isn't it?
I mean, I think when we talk to people that have had careers like yours, I think it's been some time since they've been the mentee and not the mentor. But if you look back, obviously you talked about your sort of TV Times days. Have you had sort of people that you've gone to regularly over time when you're getting those big jobs?
Well, each of the jobs, I mean, internally I've had amazing people. So Mike at the TV Times, I'd say Guy Zitter was brilliant in my early days at the Mail on Sunday. Then Simon Barnes was world-class person.
Yeah.
Didn't fulfill his career that he should have done in many ways, but was incredible. I learned so much from Simon about management of numbers and detail and what to focus on. At the Mail on Sunday, Murdoch McLennan was amazing. And interestingly, at Global, even though I came in as sort of group CEO, and Ashley Tabor-King, who owns the business, and I was there to support Ash. I learned so much from Ash, even though he was much younger than me. His just relentless passion, vision, attention for detail, and no fear. I mean, if you look at some of the bravest things that we've been involved with have happened at Global, is because Ash has just gone, no, we're going to do this.
I mean, that sent shockwaves when you
the
got
outdoor
into the
piece,
outdoor,
incredible,
but,
incredible,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't have happened in a public company in the way that we could do it. Particularly the sort of final piece of the jigsaw, because it only made sense from a strategic perspective to have scale. What we learned at Global over the years, and I think is a fair truth in this industry today, that unless you have scale, it's hard.
Yeah.
So we had a festivals business that we had acquired a few years prior to that. We didn't have scale. We came out of it. So when we looked at outdoor, we said it was only going to work if we have scales, which meant buying companies, but without any of the other companies knowing we were buying them. So I ended up, we basically were running 3 teams across 3 different acquisitions all at the same time.
Wow.
The final piece of the jigsaw, which was buying Exterion, we met the management team at 2:00 on a Wednesday afternoon, and we completed on Friday of that week.
Wow.
And that was, just under 500 million
I was going to
acquisition.
say, what was that worth? Bloody hell.
Ocean had thought they'd bought it. at the time. We got in under the radar, and that piece of it was the critical piece because it gave us the same market share that JCDecaux had in the UK. So without it, we would have been really a sort of distant number 3. So it was such a critical piece to it, which meant we had to move fast. You had to do things you wouldn't naturally do in a normal M&A process. But
it must be very exciting.
It was brilliant.
I'm going to say really exciting. And all that you've done since you've been there with Ashley. And when I said at the beginning, you need to know when to exit stage left. And I love the fact it's a stage. Of course, it's a stage. What kind of how did you know this was the time? And also, how did that make you feel? Like how it was just, well, you're still chairman, so now you can just basically be completely involved, but actually with none of the responsibility of the rest of the board. But what made you want to exit stage left at this time?
So I'm a typical Taurian, so I'm very stubborn.
Oh, I'm a Taurian.
Oh,
yeah. I knew I liked you.
So as a typical Taurian, you may have this same part. Very stubborn. So when I went to Global in 2008, I always said I'd finish in 2025 because I was going to be 60 in 2025. And at that point, you're supposed to say, no, you don't look 60.
I was going to say, well, I've already said it was your 50th. I've already said,
sorry.
I was looking and thinking.
Where were the podcast cues?
That was the first.
Exactly.
Yeah, your 50th.
Rehearse this. It went better.
At your 50th, yes.
Anyway,
Lovely.
I always said I was going to finish at 60. And I've looked at too many organisations where people overstay their welcome. And I think that as much as I had the best job in the planet, I loved my job. There's never going to be a good time to go, and there was never going to be a time I really wanted to go. So in my head, I had to plan for that, and that was always the conversation. And as much as over the years, Ash and I would have these quite amusing conversations about, it's still going to be 2025, 100%. So we started the planning 2.5 years out.
That's good.
Of succession and what that was going to look like. We were so fortunate to find an amazing person in Simon Pitts, and he is wonderful and just so delighted that he's come in. So I found it really, actually, that was my target.
Yeah.
That was always my focus. Find an amazing person to come into the organisation, not try and find a mini me, find a much better version for the next chapter. Yeah. And I felt really comfortable with it, and I'm really excited. It was exciting
also,
to do it.
You've got so much, you were very young, 60. You're obviously incredibly fit. You've got a lot. Why stay? Well, Martin Sorrell, he's never going to give up at all. I'd said, why are you not on a yacht off the Saint-Tropez? I just think also we've got chapters in our life where you can still be involved in the company, but you've also got your own it's like next life.
It does. You've got to have it. You've got health become. You live your life.
Yeah.
Have fun. I mean, I've always had fun. I've always tried to enjoy it. I've always tried to. I think humour plays a massive part in certainly in my career has been. So
does seem to be a
have
consistent
a lot of fun.
humour, doesn't
it?
You've
got to have fun. It's a fun
fun.
industry. It's a great fun industry. So never lose that part. And you work hard, you get the benefits of working hard, and then you've got decisions to make. And actually, I want to be the best chair I can possibly be. I want to really, really, really be great chair. I'm loving it because it's a whole different skill set for me. And
you do have to step
I have to pull myself back from my natural temptation to go, the answer is. And back to, and it is the ultimate mentorship. When you actually look at it, when I look at my career in a full circle, and I look at all the things I've done, I've loved doing, the actual joy of chairing a business and having meetings with people, and I've got a whole program of people who is all about mentorship. It's the most, it's the best thing you can ever have as a legacy, is always helping the next generation.
I think also because there's lots of people who end their careers unexpectedly.
Yes.
And it's a bit of a shock, and suddenly there's a sense of sort of loss of identity.
Yeah,
I was this, and that's what I've always been.
Very true.
And then suddenly I'm not.
Yeah,
I think because you've had this long time plan, you've obviously come to terms with, and you're still involved, but it is a different is a different role. You've obviously come to terms with that and quite happy. And like this week, there was the sad news of Denise Turner
Oh gosh,
passing.
yeah.
I know.
And it's a reminder, it is a
It
reminder
is,
that
and what an
Yeah.
amazing lady.
you've got to
I know.
you've got to make the most of the only life we've got, haven't we?
But I think, you can see it, as I say, if anybody does follow your Instagram. I mean, my God, you have the life. You have the life.
I have a life.
You have an amazing
very
life.
lucky.
And we speak to consultants every day where, like you say, suddenly you've planned your exit, but people who haven't planned their exit, I always say to them, look, we've got 2 lives, and our second life begins the moment we realise we only have one.
Yeah.
And actually, in adversity comes opportunity,
It does.
and I think that's. I'm going to live my life.
Live
like
your
Stephen
life.
Miron.
Live your life. Live your life. I get a few comments like that, but it's the pleasure you get now. Both my daughters are sort of entered the industry in slightly
they've
different
got
doors.
they've got soft shoes to follow, haven't they?
And it's great to watch them do their thing.
and flourish.
it's different stage.
It's different stages,
Yeah,
and that's
it is.
and that is what the circle of life is all about.
And I would love to be selfish and keep this going on forever, but I know you've got things to do. We've just got a couple more questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
As you reflect back, because often it does become quite a reflective podcast. I don't think is there anything you would have done differently? It seems like you've had opportunities, you've made your own opportunities, you've led the way, but is there a decision or anything that you think, actually I would have done something slightly different?
No, there were lots of those moments where I had opportunities to make a decision that way. Some amazing
sliding
job
door
offers,
moments.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, unbelievable moments
Wow.
where, huge job
Yeah.
And then I've always, there's always a great saying, about fish thinking from the head, which is why you've always got to look at the person first. So whilst when you make decisions about what you're going to do and where you're going to go and who it is and the people you back, you've got to sit with them and look them in the eye and go, okay, is this someone who I trust implicitly, who I genuinely buy into? And when on those decisions that could have been a left or a right hand turn, when I got to the final point of looking that person in the eye, there was a little bit of inside there, which is the most important ingredient we all have, which is our instinct.
Yeah.
Just says to you, right, there's a problem.
Yeah.
And when I look back and go, were there I would say, of course I've made bad decisions. Generally it's been based on an individual who I trusted, who then proved not to be trusted. But then I dealt with it. So in career terms, no, I've loved my career. I would not have done anything differently. I'm pleased that whatever it was that made me go that way and say no to those other things was the right call.
Yeah.
You sometimes, despite your best endeavours, you may call it wrong.
Yeah.
But I've been really lucky. I've met some amazing people on the journey. I've worked with the best of the best. And I'm still on speaking terms with most of them, which is not a bad thing as well.
Yeah. And I think it's that trust you got, isn't it?
It is.
Actually, because you've had such an amazing career, we always ask biggest fuck up, don't we?
We
But
do.
we don't know if you've had any.
Do you know what? I don't look back and go anything. I genuinely would struggle, and which is not. I don't want to be arrogant about. I'm not at all. But there's nothing that I look and go, oh my God. Of course, you pay too much for something. You regret doing that. You make but in the grand scheme of
In
life,
the grand scheme of things, it
how
doesn't-
you navigate this sort of snakes and ladders journey in this industry, and avoid the pitfalls.
Yeah.
And as I said at the beginning, to come out of it hopefully with a reputation, people went, what, he did a good job.
Yeah.
And that's as good as you're going to get.
So maybe as a final question because I'm just a kind of a relatively senior salesperson wrote to us and said, we're really enjoying the podcast and whatever. So I was just thinking of that kind of category of person who's in the commercial world and looking to go up. What's your advice? What are your one or two things that you'd say to someone who wants to get to the very top in the commercial world?
Yeah, work harder than all the people you work around. Look at them. Look at what they're doing differently. Learn your craft better than anybody, because you sometimes need luck. But I think we're in an interesting phase where back in our day, it was all about being out and about. You know, I remember, you know, like in Saatchi's, Carolyn McCall used to be the rep for The Guardian. You know, I've known Carolyn my whole working life. We've been great mates for all of that time, but we worked it. I mean, she was everywhere. I was everywhere.
Yeah.
So I sort of get a sense that this whole work-life balance piece has sort of shifted a bit to the softer end, not the harder end. And you need to do the harder end if you want to achieve something. And again, I come back to, it's not for everyone. Not everyone can be a leader. Not everyone will be a leader. But if you have that ambition, I always knew I wanted to succeed. I've always been unbelievably competitive, whether it's been sport, whether it's been in work. I wanted to be the youngest person to be on the board. I wanted to be the youngest person with that. I want to be the youngest. You know, now I'm the oldest person. But you know, at the time, you really, you know, that was what sort of drove me a bit. And there were other people who didn't have that drive.
Can I just say on that though, we all know, and you must have had them when you were CEO of an agency. We all know those people who are intensely ambitious, but almost
overly ambitious.
Yeah. Like they were getting ahead of their skis or whatever the phrase. What is that balance?
Yeah, you've got to balance. I think it's not wearing it on your sleeve ambition.
Yeah.
I think
it's more
it's internal, and it's without going, look, unless you promote me next week, I'm off. You know, those people. We've all had those people who go, you play the card once, it doesn't work. So I would say for that senior salesperson who's looking to go, learn your craft better than anything else, right? And beyond just the single piece you're in. Make sure you get out and just speak to as many different people, because generally what the next job will come through someone recommending or someone knowing, you know, or through a great headhunt, but you will only go and ask your network and say, tell me someone who's really good in this space.
It is
so
all
we all
network.
practice the same principles. So you go, well, how do I move myself up that ladder where if I'm going to get a call from the zoo, I go, oh, your name keeps coming up. So why is that? And it's not about, you know, it's getting that emotional intelligence blend right with the sort of career piece, which is, I really want to learn, I really want to grow, I really want to develop. And I have to say, I mean, the most amazing, humbling, incredible thing that Ashley probably came up with was the Global Academy. And you know, seeing some of these kids who have nothing, and I mean,
I presented
nothing.
there actually for
Have you?
speakers for schools. I went down there. Yeah,
thank you for doing that.
It was really good. Yeah,
but these kids who don't come from privileged backgrounds, who haven't had an intro into the sector that some people may have had, they want it so much and they work so hard for it. And which whenever I do speakers for schools and people go, well, how do I get to be like you? Well, anything is achievable, but anything is achievable. It really is. Doesn't matter where you've come from.
You do have to work.
But you've got to work.
Can't get away from hard work.
You can't get work from it. But it's hard work. But I would say it's being smart about how you do the hard work.
Yeah. It's not just for the sake.
And like, you know, there was a kid at the academy. I gave a speech at the academy, and there was one kid, Ronnie, wonderful guy. I'm sure he'll end up following this, and he just sent me a note afterwards. Can I come and have a chat? I said, of course. So he came in, and then he was helping doing some social content for an estate agency. And I said, anytime you want to have a chat, just come and have a chat. And it honestly, that I get so much pleasure from him going, right, he's now launched his own little business. He's doing this and doing that. And that tells, I think, me everything about how this all works. Which is, none of us were gifted anything on a plate. It really doesn't happen. You do need a bit of luck where it's like, okay, I met someone great who just backed me. But you can also find you can wheedle those things out, and you can find that. And so to that senior salesperson, also look for a great look around and go, look, would there be someone prepared to have a cup of tea with you who's been there and done it?
And just get in touch.
Get in touch. And what's the worst things that are going to happen? No, bog off. I mean, that's the worst thing that's going to happen. But there'll be someone else.
Tenacity and human connection. I think that's
and
it.
Curiosity.
A curiosity.
And curiosity.
Yeah, these honestly. We could actually sit here.
Oh, easy.
We could sit here all morning. But yeah, we do. You've got places to go, people to meet. You've got you're a busy man. You're a very busy man. But Stephen, do you know what? We knew. Well, as I said, you were the one that's at the top of everybody's mind when it comes to mentorship. You've given so much to our industry and continue to do, and we're just delighted that
Very
you've
grateful.
spent
Thank you.
a lot of
Thank you
time.
all you're doing
Thank
on
you
this.
very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's all we've got time for. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe to Mentor, share it, like it, rate it. I don't know how many other things you can do, but any of those things would be useful to us. And share it with someone who is navigating their career and help them along the way.
Yeah, and if you do need a little bit more wisdom and talent in your business, please do be sure to come and speak to the TheZoo.London for exec search and consulting. And we'd just like to thank our producers, Viral Tribe Entertainment. They are our mentors on every single podcast. So thank you to them.
And don't forget to follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And join us next time for more pearls of wisdom on Mentor.